Play the clip, Envy.
What's up, guys? We're back with another episode of Sit Down with Envy. Now, today I have a very, very special guest all the way from Korea, because that's where he currently is, to my knowledge. I have DeuxDad, also known as Gay Dads. How's your day going, brother?
Very good. Indeed, in South Korea, it's currently the Chinese New Year, so I'm completely bored and alone because everybody's back with their families. And I thought it'd be a great time to record a great episode of Sit Down with Envy. How are you doing?
I'm losing a lot of solo queue games.
I'm hearing that, actually.
I may or may not be stuck in the pit of Emerald 2.
Mm,
Yeah,
Also
unlucky.
tried to play Smolder mid.
that's very unlucky.
Played into Lysandra Evelyn.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to know about that game.
Yeah,
That's
I'm not convinced that's real. So, but you know what?
yeah. Me neither.
If anybody can make it work, it would just have to be you. So
I
I think
I
you
think
keep trying.
I think so too. I think I keep trying, and then I'll go see
Mm.
you guys down in Plat 4.
Down in Plat 4. Alright, fair enough. For
Yeah,
now, fair enough.
yeah. So anything interesting in Korea?
In
You know.
Korea, well, everything's interesting in Korea. Except that I'm playing very little League of Legends, which is part of why people come to Korea. But I'm kind of back on it a little bit, trying to play some solo queue. Currently Heartstuck Gold 2 or Gold 3 in Korea, which is the equivalent of about Masters, Grandmasters, and OC, in case you want,
Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
in
Of course it is.
comparison.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm actually studying, so most of my time is just studying and just hanging out in Seoul.
Yeah.
Actually, 10 out of 10. Definitely don't want to come back to New Zealand, but I'm gonna have to sooner rather than later.
Are you gonna go
Um,
watch T1 play?
I was trying to get tickets for the LCK, and then every time I tried, I failed. For all the big teams, they just like went out too quickly.
Yeah.
And I just don't have any interest in the bottom tier teams, so I kind of gave up on that
Do
dream.
you
I
do
wanted to
you
see
not
T1 versus Viper's team. I forgot HLE, I think.
Hunger Life? Yeah. Do
Yeah,
you not just go anyway? Just for like the atmosphere?
I mean you need tickets to enter. And I couldn't get the tickets
No, I
because
mean like, do you
they.
not just go watch like some bottom tier teams? It's like just for
Oh,
atmosphere.
yeah, I could try maybe. Um, I'm still thinking about it, but I also kind of don't care about those teams. I don't really watch the LCK. I'm more of an LPL guy nowadays, so I just watch the top LPL teams
Yeah,
and
mate.
and C9.
Weirdly enough, the LPL is protect for 80 carry typically,
I
and you're
love
a bit
that.
of a hog.
It's not just that, but it's also, I mean, they've got, listen, you've got, if you have Ruler or Jackie level on your team, don't you just drop the ego and protect the AD carry?
Yeah,
I
but
think so.
like maybe for those two, you
hmm For me, I mean,
maybe not.
you know, maybe my teammates need to drop the ego, but
That's a later
that's
topic.
that's a
Oh,
later. Exactly. We can talk about people dropping the ego for me a bit later.
ah,
For now,
yeah,
I'm on
yeah.
I'm on annual leave, so my teammates can enjoy getting ganks outside of bot lane for a good couple months.
Ah, yes, and then you'll come back and try and get the gangs back.
Listen, that's my plan, really. That's what I'm working towards.
Yeah, I mean, always gotta have plans in place.
hmm
So,
Yes.
big big way to start us off on the
hmm
topic list. How did you get into tournament play?
Now, I joined the scene way before most of the people that are on today because I joined the scene and left and then came back. And most people know me from, when I came back, when I started playing with you. But when I first started, it was like 2017, 2018 or something. And I just hated solo queue so much, but I was so addicted to League that I realized I had to find something else. And that's when I looked in the boards. We used to have like League boards. A team called AGC was recruiting, so I joined AGC to get away from solo queue, but still fill my addiction of League of Legends.
Yeah.
Um, and then I loved it, kind of, but I was on a really meme team, like a really bad team. So it had ups and downs. But I immediately realized that it's so much more fun to play 5-man League of Legends competitively than to play solo queue, and that's why I kept on playing. And then I quit when I went to Korea for the first time, and I only just recently came back, like 2021, I think, or 2022. But
So,
before that, yeah, I'm an oldie.
bit of a boomer. So to jog people's
Hmm.
memories, do you remember who was on your roster?
Yes, and it's literally nobody that anyone today would have heard of. But we had a guy called Tough in support, and he was literally the most like toxic guy, and all of the people that knew him can understand why I am the way I am. It's literally my origin, like my villain origin story. I used
Yeah.
to be really shy and like really I'll play supportive carries and I'll just I want to be nice guys. And this guy was the most toxic, like fucking blaming everything was my fault, everything was our team's fault. My jungler's a pig, I'm perfect. And playing and he was complete like trash at the game. It was like silver or gold or something. Um, and that's what made me have to kind of, get a spine and put my foot down. And that's kind of why I'm a little bit more toxic today. And then my mid laner was called Cuddles. Love that guy. Chain Smoker. So you literally couldn't hear what his comms were from mid lane. And then my jungle top were like Capsicum and Color Shade. Again, they're
Oh, I
people
know
who
Color Shade.
literally. You, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
He was
yeah.
my. He was my. I think jungler, or he was the top laner. I don't remember where he plays, but um, except for the people who were around back in the day, I don't think any of these people are around. But I obviously played with Jep and Griff every now and then also, just not in a team.
They were on the good one.
They were on the good team, exactly. And I had them, I think, for a little bit. I played with Jep and Griff back in 2018, and then they went for a different team, and I was stuck all alone. But it's okay.
Yeah.
I forgive them.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, the solo queue was always a bit of a
always
pit.
trash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Especially once you move into like playing fives, because what ends up
Yes.
happening is the game drastically changes
Hmm.
because you now have access to communications between players,
Yeah.
right? And people typically are a lot less demanding and like
Yeah.
selfish in fives.
And the
I s-
comps look different as well. The champions people play, you can't
yeah,
get away with everything. So
bah, you know, Zed doesn't get played in comp typically
exactly.
unless you're egoing. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's always
I.
interesting, right? Because like, you can name off the top of your head, your like, the teammates you came in with,
Hmm.
right? And I could probably do the same. I think I probably have in the past. And there's always something about, the people you hang around with in the early stages of your playing time, which actually just molds you into who you are.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's like so true. And there's actually a very funny clip. I don't know. I think Griff has it of like that support. He would sometimes like openly flame me during scrims. I remember once he would like I got caught a couple times and he had a full 5 minute argument with Jetman, who was our jungler filling in at the time, about my my AD carry is just like running it down. We know it's warded, and it was just like when I look back at that clip and I'm just saying nothing, I realized that it's because I got flamed so hard that I learned to be a little bit more not toxic, but so confident. Let's just say. So I think that's really true. It does shape you like the people you play with. And also, comp shapes you as a player, and then when you go back to solo queue, which I already hated, it's even worse because now you
Yeah,
have all of this like idea of how you should play the game, and all of it goes out the window when you're playing solo queue. So for players like me who already hate solo queue, playing comp made me just completely unable to play solo queue, or at least take it seriously because
it
I
made
can't
solo queue
actually do
even
these
worse.
games. Yeah, I can't even play these games and like feel like I'm playing a real game of League of Legends. So that's definitely true, yeah.
Yeah, which is why I kind of wish some of the in-house servers like popped off and like
Mm,
actually like thrive, because they would thrive for like a week or two, and then some of the higher elo
yeah.
players will come in,
Mm,
typically with their toxicness,
yeah.
and what happens is then a tier list gets made, and it's like, oh, don't drop this
Egos get
person.
hurt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because everybody's got an ego, right?
Mm,
It's just how
definitely.
how much do they wear their ego? Like,
Yeah.
I'm a really good example. I will say exactly what I'm thinking. Typically,
Hmm.
when it comes to my ego, I'll be like, ah, yeah, this guy's trash, and I'll tell anybody who listens, right?
Yeah. Can
Um,
confirm.
but it's like there are other people who they're just not as vocal about, what they think, and so people
Yeah.
think, oh, they're a lot more humble. they win, but they win graciously. Here's our first tangent, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been around for so long, and you probably have this now in your second stint, probably more than the
Yeah.
first one.
Yeah.
Is when you play so many tournaments and you get over the fact, because when you start there's like some nerves, even though it's online and you're at home. Just the fact
Yeah.
that it's the players on the other side sometimes, and you might be on a stream with like 60 people watching, or you know this is our version of being in LCO, or one of the bigger leagues. Because for some people, they will never get higher, right? And so that was always their time to shine, to play in that kind of environment. Obviously not on the level, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's the closest thing people would get to it. So I got to the point where it was very, very stagnant. So like there'd be like 4 different tournament organizers. There'd be like 5 different tournaments each week. My team was eligible for all of them. They'd want to play them all. And I got to the stage where it's like, it's just another tournament. And you start phoning games in,
Mm.
right? Because you're no longer excited to play. You're no longer hyped. You're no longer 100% focused because you need to win. So I had to do the Michael Jordan thing and just start making beefs with people because
Uh-huh.
because I now
To
need
make it entertaining.
I now need a reason to play.
I see.
And I think admittedly I was also a bit of a dickhead back then. So that probably helped with the persona that I ended up
Mm-hmm.
bringing across with all the ego on the outside. Because like I said, I think most people think the same things that I say, but aren't willing to like say it publicly. They'll say it to like their friend groups, but they won't be
The
like as vocal
Yeah,
about.
no, there's definitely people, and I know like I also kind of lean into the kind of cocky like AD carry player, so I'm in the same boat, even if it's not always like 100% true. About the nerves thing, like I definitely don't get nervous for any games anymore, but I used to when I was like first started.
Yeah,
It was like legit so nervous I can barely click, but now I'm just like whatever, I'm just trying to play the games. It probably helps that I'm never versing people who are that much better than me. I feel because we're playing in Iron to Plat, and we're kind of Becky and I are kind of the top tier of Iron to Plat bot lanes. So obviously, if we were versing people who were like really good, then I'd get nervous of going 0-10. But that's not really something that I have to be scared of. So my ego is never gonna be hurt too badly. Um, but yeah, no, definitely the ego thing is like I think it's good though that there's people like you who wear their ego on their sleeve and create content and make the matches interesting. Because if everyone is being like fake nice to each other, then there's really no entertainment. And half of the enjoyment of the Iron to Pie community is that it's less formal, it's less serious, and people can just talk a lot of trash to each other and have egos that go up against each other. So I think it's definitely good that there's some people like you and maybe like me who are a bit more vocal. Um, and
yeah.
obviously, it's good that it's not everyone's like that, but it's not a bad thing. I think it definitely makes the tournaments more enjoyable. Um, in,
Because
in general.
the way I see it, you just have to wear the losses on your sleeves. Like
Yeah.
the amount of times I was talking trash before a tournament just to get my fucking shit booted in, and be like, "Oh yeah, guys, I'm out first round. I'll catch you guys next week."
Happens.
Like,
Happens. That's
um,
terrible.
and like it was happening all the time. Uh, Again, and this is a very well known story, but I too linked up with the likes of Jetman and Gryffindor, and
Hmm.
um, I forgot. I think it was. I ended up having Bang Bang as my AD carry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the
Oh my
roster,
god.
so the AGC roster I joined,
Hmm.
we had a guy called Unreal Top Lane, and he was
Okay.
just like a random. Then
Yeah.
I was playing jungle. This
Hmm.
was the Woodcut Beast era of my like career. So I was
Right.
playing jungle. I had Gryffindor mid, and I had Bang Bang and Triggered in my bot lane.
Oh my god.
Now, I kid you
Hmm.
not, that team was a means to an end. Like Bang Bang was notoriously like forgiven level toxic, but in gold.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're laughing because you know as well.
I
Like
definitely know this
it
guy.
was
Yeah.
it was not good. but again, he was good enough that we would just win games, and and I think I said this to Colette during the last one. It was, how much do you value the win, right? Because what ended up happening is I was stuck. I was in like silver 2, like hard stuck, and it was an iron gold event. I would play nothing but Jarvan, and because I had Griff and Bang Bang on my team, not like Jarvan was never banned, and I think if they had done that, we may have looked much worse. So I did this one path every game. I'd start topside, regardless of which side of the map. I would solo my buff, EQ over Baron Wall, and run to the other buff, and like I would take it. And,
every time.
And like every game, there was like no, and then I would walk straight through mid, burn the mid laner's flash, and then now Griff has a completely free laning phase, right? Because it was
he seems like he would have enjoyed that actually.
Yeah. I was like, oh yeah, my bread is buttered because Griff's in this mid lane. Now, was I the best player? No. Did I attempt to ask to play Lee Sin a lot? I fucking know if I did. Was I told I could play Jarvan or Sejuani? Yep.
Hey, listen, that's the same as today when you just want to play Yasuo or Yone every time, and then you're stuck on Lissandra or Yana.
Yeah, and so we get to the stage where, and like I guess this is an interesting topic when I talk to people. It's like, how much, because like to bring it back in, how much do we value the win, right? Like, I think when you play on a team, if there are flaws and like personality clashes and whatnot, it's so much easier to hide if you're winning.
Yeah, for sure.
But if your team is getting there, like booted in, like you're losing 15 minutes, then every 15 minutes, right? What's gonna happen is you're just gonna resent each other, and the team's gonna combust. So
yeah.
The question is, how much do you value the win over anything else?
Yeah, I actually get that. That was definitely the story of me when Baki and I first joined Alpha, where it was like 2022, I think, start of it, and none of the teams had been made. So we were winning all of these weekly tournaments. It was like the weekly one-off tournaments. We were winning all of them, and so we were thinking, oh, we're so good, our team is great. And then people started getting rosters together, and we started getting our ass beat every week, and we realized, oh, this roster is not actually that good. And I guess that's true. It's those wins weren't that valuable because you look back at it and you're like, okay, well, I was just versing people who like aren't on my level, so of course I'm supposed to win. And then when we verse people on our level, we lose because we're not prepared, or we're not a good team. So definitely hard to see those wins as very meaningful. But I think it depends on how much effort you're putting in. Like if we look back at the last tournament you and I played, our team put in a lot of effort, and if we won that tournament, I think we would have been that wouldn't have been very valuable because it's like, okay, we actually deserved it.
It was
we're not versing bad teams. Yeah, it was like very competitive. Like Knights are really good. We still beat them, so that's really valuable. But I guess obviously in the long run, and the more you play, the more you appreciate it. It's you value your improvement more than your wins. You value your trajectory more than any singular win you've had. So I think that's definitely true. But at the end of the day, it's not like I go into a game thinking, I hope I learn a lot. Like I still am trying to win every game I play, even if it's against people who aren't on our level or whatever. So I think, you have to be balanced with it. But it's so funny that, just to go back, you mentioned Bang Bang, because you must have joined AGC right after I left the first time. Because when I was playing, we had two teams. I don't know if it was called AGC or Helios at the time. But Bang Bang was the enemy AD carry for the other team. So I was on one team, and then the other team had Bang Bang, Gryffindor, Sparky, and then I think Jep and someone else top. Maybe Husky or something.
Yeah.
So there must have actually been a very, it would have been really close to some overlap between when you joined and when I left.
So
we could have had the dream team all the way back in 2019.
So the reason why I ended up joining was they brought out a new rulebook, right? I think it was BSV, and it disallowed Shiny and Jet based on like X rank.
Yeah.
and so they had to get a jungler. Now, again, this goes back to like the win thing. I actually hadn't won a tournament yet. I've been
Mm.
playing for like 6, maybe 9 months, and hadn't won a tournament. So to me, looking back on it, it's like I joined the dark side
Yeah.
because that was the team where
Just to get
it was like Griff shouldn't be playing. He's too good for this elo, and I probably like laned into him a few times before that and like been
mm.
completely like booted.
I mean,
Right?
yeah.
No one will ever find the games with that, um, but yeah. So like looking at that, it's like I found that valuable because I just needed to get that win. Right? I
Right.
needed the pressure of being on the team that is meant to win.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right? Because it's one thing to go into a tournament and it's like, yeah, we're the underdog. It's another thing to go into the tournament being like, we're the favorite.
Yeah.
And
Um, I've actually noticed just on that point, real quickly before I forget, I've noticed a lot of my teammates have different views on that, and I am happy when people think we're really good. Like that's never bothered me. But I've
yeah,
noticed that a lot of my teammates, especially in the last tournaments, really wanted to be the underdogs and felt increasingly uncomfortable as people were starting to like think of us as a really good team. So it's really interesting. Like, which side do you think you're on? Do you think you prefer to be underdogs, or are you comfortable if people expect you to win the games you play?
I personally I like people not expecting much
Hmm.
because it you pretty much like you're playing with dealers' money, right? Like in a
Right.
way, because you either again, and this comes back to like the ego thing. Like, if I see a tier list, I'm like 8 out of 10. I'm like, okay, fuck you all. Like I'm gonna show you, right? And like
Right.
that puts that fire under my like under me. Whereas
Hmm.
if it's like, oh yeah, Envy's number one, it's like, yeah, I am, and like I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm probably not gonna put in as much effort as I should, right? It's so much easier to climb the mountain than stay at the top of the mountain.
Yeah. That's true.
And again, you get complacent, you get stagnant, and because of that, I do think being the underdog has its advantages.
Hmm.
Plus, if no one expects anything from you, the favorites are gonna take you probably slightly lighter, right?
Yeah.
And then like you take them, and then it's actually because if you go into a best of three, all the pressure's on them, right? And as much
Mm.
as people once again are gonna be like, oh, you're sitting at home, you're playing customs, it's League of Legends. Like, who
Yeah.
knows how this person's gonna perform on that day in front of 40 viewers, 50 viewers, 60 viewers, right? Like,
Mm.
there's a thing called stage fright, and because I don't know about you, but most people will actually have the normal stream up on like their second monitor.
Really? I've
Yeah.
obviously never done. None of my teammates have ever done that. We definitely
Ah,
turn it off the
I I
second.
I normally so I'm not listening to it, but I normally have it
Mm.
open.
Oh, really?
And I'm gonna be honest,
Just to read chat?
I throw games by reading chat because because they're 3 minutes behind and some of it can be quite like
Yeah.
tilting.
Yeah. That's why we turn it off when we were, in between games. We'll watch the stream to read chat, but then as soon as we get in champ select, it's like, all right, everyone turn it off and bloody focus on the
Yeah,
draft. We don't want to have someone like memeing in Twitch chat while we're trying to figure out what the hell we're banning. So that's why everyone of my teammates always turns it off in champ. But I didn't. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I definitely would read chat way too much if I kept it open. So it's
yeah.
definitely better to have it off when you're
I
playing.
also communicate it while in game. If I'm like dead or something,
Oh my god.
which
Is that
again,
even allowed? Are you even
uh,
allowed to talk
well,
in
I'm
Twitch
not.
chat?
Sometimes, depends. Because I'm not giving away the game. I'm normally just memeing someone.
Yeah,
But
fair
like,
enough.
but yeah, it's a weird one because like if we start talking about like some modern stuff, right? So most recently we both played in the last MCOM ladder,
That's right.
right? And to jog the fans' memories, you came second.
Sad.
So you made to the finals and lost, whereas my
Yeah.
team got out of the groups
Even
in
more
second
sad.
place, and we went out in the round of six.
Yeah, so that was quarters, right? Or the equivalent of quarters.
Quarters, yeah. Which
Yeah.
we should have won.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
this is the part of the show where I get really mad at the fact that I was unwell that
Oh
week.
wait. Yeah.
Um,
Not just you. You had multiple teammates that were
yeah.
unwell, didn't you?
So yeah, so we're playing into Revolt,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe so. It was myself, and I think Desi was unwell as well, which was our support
Mm-hmm.
player.
Right.
And I think Cola had just came off of being sick. It was either Cola or Cinder. One of the two was coming off of being sick, and the reason why this still annoys me is because Daiuku was touted as like the second or like best mid laner depending on who
Mm.
you spoke to.
Yeah. For
I
sure.
put him 16 feet under for 3 games in a row,
Uh-huh.
and we lost.
Tragic.
And so
I will say,
I was
I don't
furious.
remember that. I don't remember. Okay, I watched because my team were, especially Bucky and I, we were Cavs' greatest fans, right? We were your biggest fanboys. I'm not gonna lie to you, actually, before I get into this, I'm literally always rooting for you, by the way, Envy, even
Yeah,
though you're annoying as hell, because I
thanks.
realized, right, that everybody, it's too easy to hate on you. It's too because you're so open with your ego. If you're doing bad, then everyone in the community is just beating a dead horse called envy, and that's not interesting. But then when you're doing really well, you get even more cocky, and then people who don't like that you're cocky get even more upset about it, and there's a
Yeah.
lot more entertainment. So I'm always rooting for your team to do well. It's so much more fun when the team that you're on is doing well. So I was your team's greatest fan, so was Baki. And also you guys had Collat, which we like had versed like a million times. So we're thinking your
Yeah,
team is cool.
I feel like Kolat tries to forget those games. Me
Yeah,
too.
I
Me
I
too.
don't know. I thought he didn't he carry one of them. I definitely remember him carrying one of the games or
I'm
playing
pretty
like
sure we
really.
got
It was two. I guess that's 1-2. I think he went with Giga on Kog'Maw or something. That's what my memory tells me. But we were watching the games live. I don't really remember how or why you lost.
yeah.
Um, but that was definitely tragic. And it's also maybe it would have been cool if there was like a losers bracket because I feel like except for Knights and ourselves, our two teams were kind of like above the rest, but the rest were actually really close. I think with you
Yeah.
guys, Stormwolves, Revolt, and was it Starcasters, the last one? Like it would
Yeah.
have been really interesting to see your four teams play a lot more. So it's kind of a shame that that didn't happen because you guys definitely at least you went 3 games, right? It was definitely close.
I'm pretty
Um,
confident we're in 3 games.
and it's actually quite funny that both the second seeds, I think, lost straight away because you guys lost, and then Stormwolves Intruders, your group's third seed, beat our second seed,
Yeah.
which was
Starcasters.
Starcasters, with a quick Gryffindor summon to save the day after
Uh
an 0-1 start. I definitely remember that as well.
ah, because Griff subbed them jungle, right? Was that the
Yep,
Amumu games?
that was. I don't remember what he was playing,
I'm
but
pretty
he
confident it
and
was
Vigi.
something memeable.
It's Mumu or Sejuani when he's playing jungle in teams that he doesn't want to carry.
Yeah.
It was definitely a banger, but it definitely would have been more fun to see more games between those four teams. Although to be fair, the tournament ran pretty long already, so
Yeah,
it would have been
because
hard
there
to.
was because
Yeah.
the way the format went for the tournament, it was meant to. So like I laid out the format for Razy,
Mm,
and it was actually, in my opinion, a banger format. It just executed
mm,
really poorly based on like because what ended up happening is so I think it was Knights and Starcasters.
yeah.
They got to draft teams into the enemy like
Right.
pool,
Right.
and so the way that's meant to happen is you're meant to draft the best teams into the like opposing pool,
Yeah.
right? Unless you want to be cynical and like pick someone, right? To
Yeah.
be,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, because if you don't pick someone, then obviously they come into your pool eventually, right?
Mm-mm.
So if let's say for instance we were drafting and I wanted you in our pool, I just wouldn't pick you to go into the other one, and so
Yeah.
eventually you would end up in our pool,
Right.
right?
Right.
And like you do that based on like ego, like I'm gonna beat these guys up, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or something very similar of that lines. Now, because
Mm,
rosters went in and a lot of the players were very unknown, only for the fact that not a lot of events had been happening. If there was maybe like 6 weeklies and then that ladder happened where like most of the players are like playing, then you get a feel for like people's skill level and like team skill levels.
yeah.
But because again rosters weren't even like finalized yet, what ended up happening is they just started like, so all four MCOM teams went first, right? To my
Right.
knowledge, I'm pretty confident that's what happened. Is all four MCOM teams went first.
Yeah,
So
I don't
we
remember that. Yeah.
and then you started drafting the other teams because I think you guys were like pretty low down there.
Yeah, yeah, we were not rated highly at all.
Yeah, which was like really weird because I was like, "Gay Dad's Mikey, that's the
Yeah.
wild card." Because at the time, I
Uh,
think all you guys were playing with like Callista Pantheon or something like that. There
a
was
little bit,
some,
a little bit.
there's a lot of
A little bit, some weird
laning
metas. Yeah,
champions,
yeah, yeah.
but
Definitely.
yeah, I don't know. I do think outside of that, the tournament itself ran pretty
I
well.
think the tournament was actually really good. In modern tournaments, it was definitely one of the best ones I've been in. Obviously, the only issues were playing on patch day, which meant that sometimes, and it was kind of unlucky, but it was literally the patches that we were having were gigantic patches where they
Yeah,
reworked all of the items, right? Or they completely reworked
yeah.
certain champions.
We got
Um,
rework patches. Yeah,
Legit, it was completely. I had to relearn, and I didn't have much time to play at the time. My coach was just like, "All right, you're gonna have to learn this champ, this champ, this champ, because they all have different builds now." Um, and even like Rel got reworked, which means Rel was disabled, which is a shame because it's back. He's one of Baki's best champions as well.
yeah.
So it was definitely really strange on that part, and also it was too long. But I feel like that's like understandable, kind of. And it was definitely one of the best tournaments we've had.
In the
Also, in
modern
terms
era.
of content, yeah, in the Mon era, because we also had like casual streaming and talking about the tournaments. There was like the tier list meta. Everyone was making tier lists, so it was a lot of good content as well, which is kind of what keeps the scene going. It's not just the quality of play, which is pretty bad. It's actually the fact that people want to be part of this community and
Yeah,
talk their trash and have the games play out. So definitely top stuff. I'm looking forward to MCOM keeping the scene alive, God willing.
yeah.
But it definitely is good, like you said, if you have a couple of weeks before a circuit, so that when people go into a circuit, normally they're supposed to have an idea of who's good at what kind of champs people play, etc. So that you
Yeah.
can prepare for each week. The whole idea of a circuit is that because you know all of your opponents, you can be really well prepared for each match, and
Yeah,
therefore
because a
the
lot of
team that
people
has
were
good
like
management,
blind.
yeah, teams that have good management, good coaching will always do better. That's probably one of the biggest strengths we had, is that we had Pressure, who is our coach, doing a lot of work on every team we were versing to make sure that we had a good game plan. And I know, talking to some of the people in our group, they definitely did not put as much time beforehand preparing against us. So that definitely gives an advantage to teams with like
Yeah,
bigger, more preparation, which is really good, which is the whole point of comp, right? So
yeah. I mean, I think the patch there was a bit of an unlucky one.
yeah.
Like, I don't think that was thought out in advance. I don't think I had thought that out. But again,
Mm.
if it was like, if we just had the smaller patches, it would have been fine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But we were having like some gigantic changes. Um,
Legitimately.
on the thing of the tournament being too long, I think it was to accommodate the amount of teams,
Mm.
because there was 10 teams, and I've played enough tournaments where you do like a full round robin,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, that's just so like garbage. You could have gotten away with eight, if you had gone 8 teams, and then it's like being best of ones instead, right? So you play two best of ones on the night, and you like do that twice. That would only
Mm.
be 4 weeks instead of the 5, and then you cut out like the show match, right? And like, so
Yeah.
like you could cut down the tournament by like 2 weeks, but again,
Yeah.
best of ones is very like garbage.
Yes, I agree. It was so much better to play best of threes. Honestly, it was one of the best things about that tournament. Yeah.
And so I think, unfortunately, you either have to do less teams to get best of threes, or you just have to deal with a slightly longer tournament.
Mm.
Like, I know most people have like a really short attention span, especially like when it like gets drawn out. But like, I can see if you're the team that's like 0-4 and you're going into last week, you've got no chance of making it out.
Mm.
And so I can see where that can become like really like disheartening.
Yeah.
Never been in that scenario myself, but like, it could be disheartening for others, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just, unfortunately, there's heaps of different formats. None of them are like perfect. because they all suit different things. But I do think the best of threes gave the tournament a lot more like flair than like single round robin best or like single elim bracket best of ones, where if you run into the same team 6 times and it turns out they're the number one team, it's
Yeah.
like you've
Your
been
whole
knocked
placement's
out.
messed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you've been knocked out in the first round every time by arguably the best team in the comp, right? And I have seen that happen to teams in the past in those kinds of formats. They could be the
Yeah.
second best
No.
team, but it's just the way
Yeah,
the bracket
that's
works.
definitely true, and it's like, when you're just, especially the 1 week tournaments or the B1 tournaments, you show up and then you're like all excited to play, all prepared, and then you lose one game and you go home for next, you don't play
Yeah,
for the next week. So that's definitely a shame. I will say that was definitely one of the best formats we've had, and I think from my experience, the best way to do it is when you have a sort of period of games, usually 1 week tournaments, where you just play once a week,
yeah,
in preparation for a circuit. So when the circuit starts, it's always better if first of all people know each other, and second of all, orgs have had a time to kick out all the Smurfs, kick out all of the toxic people, make sure that everyone who's playing should be playing, so that you kind of manufacture a quite even and like entertaining tournaments.
yeah,
So definitely from my experience, that's the best kind of format, which is where people are just gonna do a couple of weeks so you can find out who's actually willing to play, and then you create your circuit based on the teams based on people you know. Because at this point, like, it's not like if you're smurfing, you're breaking the law or something, right? So you kind of have to have some kind of rapport, some kind of relationship with the teams that are in your circuit to make sure that nobody's cheating on you, that's cheating you
yeah.
out, or nobody's trying to make the games really unfair. So that's definitely what I'm hoping we can see more of this year. It does seem like MCOM, they've hinted at a couple of tournaments coming soon. You guys talked
Yeah.
about it last time as well, so it does seem like MCOM is going to try to
They
accommodate
they're
that. That'd
gonna
be
they're
very
gonna
good.
try a few things.
Yeah,
Um,
that'll be nice.
yeah, the way I feel about the scene, and this is on like public record, right? Like I've
Mm,
said this enough times. My big issue is when we were peaking, which was around again, and it was probably COVID era. It was like
mm,
19, 20, but obviously everyone's stuck indoors. We should have capitalized on that by like someone should have made a closed ladder, like a
yeah.
like a LCS type format closed
Mm,
ladder, right? But obviously you probably play like best of three instead of best of ones. And so you invite orgs. So let's say you limit it to eight orgs, right? So you grab your
mm,
WKW, you grab your MCOM, right? You bring in the orgs who are more established, and then they field a team under the requirements,
yeah.
right? And then so the spot is not actually the players, it's the team.
Mm,
Because of the fact that I have seen in the past where it's been like really like iffy, like, oh, three of the players want to get rid of the other two, but the owner doesn't want to get rid of the other two, and so they've just like hijacked the spot because it's three players, right?
mm.
Like shout out to Stormwolves. Like just like stuff like that. But I do think we could have then looked at scaling it up with the orgs, because some of the orgs back then were like quite popular, right? Like
Definitely.
especially when they were having the higher elo events as well at the same time.
Mm.
So like a MCOM was very popular. WKW was up there. Um, you had what was some orgs back then?
Was Risen Gaming still a big thing at the time?
They
Risen
might have
Risen
like
Gaming
just died
was
off,
pretty big.
but they
Okay.
were like slightly before that they were like pretty big.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so like you extend an invite. Obviously Riot funding was still a thing. I do think Riot funding is what actually killed
Yeah, that
OCA.
was nail in
But
the coffin for sure.
yeah, but like you wouldn't have needed the Riot funding if you had to set up the league with like structure.
Mm.
Because with the structure, you could then, in theory, sell sponsorships if the viewer base was high enough,
Yeah.
right? And then you use the
Definitely.
sponsorships to like pay a prize pool. But it's all if buts maybes, and it sucks that the region died, slowly came back, and then like died again. But I do think the player base is its own reason for its downfall.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm gonna use Josh as the example, right? PSV Josh.
Mm-hmm.
I know for a fact once Riot Pricing went down, he was one of the only people willing to fork money out of his own pocket to fund tournaments. Now TMG didn't do this. Revolt or any of the other orgs. Samsok wasn't doing anything, right? Because Samsok notoriously was like really close to the Riot in OCE, and so we had nothing on. However, Josh was still willing to fund things, and he was like funding some of the events, and then he just got abused permanently by people.
Yeah, it's definitely hard, especially because this is kind of like obviously this is a hobby for most of us, right? This is not actually how we make money.
No.
Actually, it's not how anybody makes money. So it's definitely hard when you're kind of going into what is essentially a hobby and you're trying to keep it alive, and you're having to deal with complete like people who just don't care or people who are gonna make your life harder, especially if you want to put some money on just to keep this alive.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously, ride funding definitely killed it, but it's not like it's a very easy thing to manage. Um, yeah, I don't know. Maybe money is always like kind of makes the competitions difficult because it also is what attracts Smurfs and it's also what attracts
Yeah.
like people, feeling cheated if you just lost nothing doesn't matter, but feeling cheated if you lost money, then that
Yeah.
makes that kind of raises tension. So I definitely agree with all of that, but yeah, I'm still. I'll just say I'm really thankful that there's at least a couple of people who still nowadays, when the scene is pretty dead, try to keep it alive, and also that there's a lot of teams that are like scrimming. Like I mean, you know as well as me, but the past 6 months somehow people have still been playing, and people are still clearly there's still clearly interest in this sort of like in the scene, even if it's dead.
Yeah.
And so at least I can be thankful that there's at least people that care enough about OC gaming to bring some stuff up, make some content, and then God willing, have a tournament if MCOM can get it off this
Yeah.
year, which I'm hearing is what's gonna happen.
Yeah. I
So
mean, or anyone else who wants to host something,
or
right? Like
anybody, you're right.
it doesn't
Have to
have
be
to be
them for
Imcom.
sure. Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. I just think again, and I've said this to anyone who's like asked me about tournaments. The one thing you need is you put down your rule book and you do not give up on those rules.
Hmm.
Right? So, for instance, regardless of who the person is, if they do not meet the requirements, they cannot play. And you just have to, you gotta put your friendship hat aside, and at the end of the day, competitive integrity is key.
Definitely, yeah.
And people playing just need to like man up, and obviously, if they haven't read the rule book, that's their own fault. And
Yeah.
again, like this has gone on to like a much more serious topic, and it's always again back to like the whole if buts maybes, you know. If we went down a different path, where would we be now? It doesn't matter. We went down the path, and now here's where we are at. And so, back onto a more happier topic.
It's fine. The scene will revive. Don't worry.
Yeah,
We'll bring it back.
yeah. Just Envy and
Just you and me.
DeuxDad, just dynamic duo.
One podcast at a time. Don't worry, bro.
So let's share some funny stories, right?
Uh-huh.
So now we met on, I forgot the
Yeah.
team name.
Fucking Alliance? It was Alliance Gaming.
Was it Alliance Gaming? Because it was the
I
one
think it
with
was
Paranoid.
Paranoid Necessity, Baki top lane. Absolute tragedy, by the way.
Yeah,
Complete tragedy, this guy on top lane.
he just ignored
Yeah.
it.
So, to that story, when we came back, it was actually the middle of like the New Zealand lockdown or the end of it, which is what got me back into League because I was just that bored.
Yeah.
And yeah, we trialed for a team. Our OPLGs were really bad. We were like terrible win rates. I know a couple people today can relate to that. Wink, wink.
Me
But
currently.
you currently, a handful of other people are struggling in solo queue. They know who they are. Don't need to name shame them, but
Oh no, we can because they hit diamond, right? And then they dropped
oh,
out diamond. That one.
oh, Listen, Cloud's gonna be back to diamond.
Whoa! I didn't say any
Cloud's gonna
names.
be back to diamond. Some of your other teammates are also struggling in solo queue. I don't know if you've ever checked Monroe or Cinder solo queue recently, but it's something you should give it a go. You should give it a gander. Anyway, our solo queue was in that same position where we were like, 30% win rate, not looking amazing for looking for team announcement. So we just joined the first team that accepted us, and then Baki didn't even show up to trials. So we were put in like the B team, the team with you in it. We were in like straight up the trash team. And we would always be the A team though. We would literally always beat them in scrims. But it was Baki top who was like, he doesn't talk much in general, but back when he was top lane, he would like actually play def in some games. I swear to God, on like Shen or Jax or something.
Felt like
it was
it.
terrible.
Felt like it, yeah.
Legit felt like it. Our jungler is paranoid. I love that guy, but he's like English is a second language. Kind of hard to understand what he says sometimes.
And like he just starts like raging in the other language.
Legit, yes. He also starts raging in the other language he speaks. And then I was bot lane with Necessity. I don't know why. She was on like 3 different teams, so we could never like scrim with her. Half the time she was playing with her uni team or something. And then it was you just running me down. You actually just actively trying to make me lose the game for some reason.
Same proof or it didn't happen?
I swear to God, one of the tournaments, it was like a 1 day off tournament. We gave you last pick. You last picked Yone into Vex and went like 1-5 or something.
That doesn't
really
sound
bad.
like me.
It was really terrible.
I'm pretty confident Yone is horrible into Vex.
I know, and you picked it into Vex.
I don't.
And I got flashbacks when we versed you. Do you remember the tournament before this circuit? We versed you, and my mid laner last picked.
Akali?
I think it was again Yone. No, it was Akali into your Vex. It was Akali into your Vex, and I was like, please not again, guys. Like if they already showed Vex, don't pick these kind of champions. And it was the same result. It wasn't that guy's fault, solely, but yeah. So our first team was definitely a meme. Definitely not good at all. But I'm glad that it humbled me. So now I can be.
You need to be humble.
I can know how to be bad, and I know how to be bad. I know how to be good, and now we're in better places.
Oh yeah.
But,
what are you trying to say? Where's that team now, huh? The only ones who are still relevant to me and you.
Yeah, and Baki. Whoa, and Baki, no?
Well,
he's just DeuxDad's shadow, and it's DeuxDad's shadow.
A little bit because you talk a lot more than he does.
That's what I'm saying. That's actually so true. And people think that I'm the one with like all of the ego and all of the like, but he's just like me, guys. Like he's not as talkative as me, but he's just like me. I swear to God, he has even more of an ego than me. So don't you guys worry about him. But you know what? Maybe we can get him out of his shell. He can come on the episode 2 of our podcast. You can have him as a guest. We'll get him talking.
Once I beat you in the next ladder, I'll be like, oh hey, you want to come back to my podcast? And then
you have to beat me before I can come back. That's tragic, man.
It'll only be a few months from now.
Yeah, but it's like, can you beat me? Can your team beat me?
Yes.
I'm not sure.
Definitely.
I'm not certain.
You clearly didn't see the scrims.
Was I in that scrim, bro? I don't.
No. But
the
like
other teams.
Since we're just gonna go down the list of players, right? So my AD carry at the time of the MCOM tournament, right? So we moved past that. Yeah. I had played with him on maybe like 3 different teams beforehand, and I ended up.
Colette? Are you talking about Colette?
Yeah, I'm talking about Colette.
Yeah, okay.
I was setting it up. Okay.
Okay, no, my bad. No, spoilers. My bad. No, ignore I said that. Keep going.
Yeah, so I played on him with like one of the in-house Iron to Plate teams because for some reason I was playing with like Blakis. That was
tragic.
That was a dark day too. And so we played with him there, and then there was a few other teams. I know I've played with him more than once. Somehow we always end up together. And so then he comes onto the MCOM team, leaves the MCOM team. We get because he was busy on the tournament day. We get a replacement who just didn't talk in game, and it's like, Colette, I need you back. Like I actually told him, I was like, hey yo, I need someone who talks so I don't have to talk. Because you've played with me. I'll communicate needed stuff, but I don't want to be the one like permanently speaking. Whereas sometimes Colette can't shut the fuck up when we're in game, which is good.
He's more vocal.
Yeah. Means I don't have to. And I kid you not, so and again, this is public knowledge because someone leaked their scrims.
Oh.
We would scrim you guys.
Mm-hmm.
We would lose every scrim.
That's true.
Colat, in the middle of games, I'm about to leak what he used to say. He would used to tell the team, "This is fucking illegal."
Yeah.
So he would be like, because you guys would like be beating the shit out of him, and Dizzy, and then he's like, "This is fucking illegal. You know, why are we not fixing this?" And like I'm sitting there just leaning into Nova, and I'm like, I'm just like laughing because there's unironically nothing I can do when they're getting like beaten down by like these early game bot lanes on Perma. Because that was all you guys could play. I was told, if DeuxDad goes past 25 minutes, he loses the game.
That's definitely fake news. I don't know who told you that, but they're a liar. But listen, that used to be our playstyle for sure. That sounds like what Colette would have experienced because we used to only run Callista Pantheon into him, or like Lucianami or whatever. We're moving from that, and yeah. But I feel like you can't, Colette can't talk because actually Monroe was like addicted to ganking. I swear Monroe has never taken a jungle camp in her life, so she's like constantly ganking mid and bot. And you say that's what your comms were. Our comms on our side was either me or Nova losing our minds because Monroe is spam ganking our lanes, and we're like, bro, just let me play the game. Get out of my lane. But it was definitely fun scrimming you guys. We were down to keep going, but eventually you guys stopped playing, and we didn't really scrim at all by the end of it. So
yeah, I think as a team decision, we decided, oh, this is really bad for our mental, right? Because of how many games we were losing. Now, do I think if we played you guys, and this is a really unpopular opinion, I don't know if we lose. We might still lose, but I don't know if we lose as badly as we did in scrims, because my team dynamic was Cinder, our top laner, would get up maybe 5 minutes before scrims, and he'd be yawning during like the middle of champion select and like just 1v1ing people for fun and losing in lane. Like you know what scrims are like. You take a lot more risk than what you would in a normal tournament game. And I feel like I did that on like some of my champion picks. It was always, very much like, oh, we hide the precious Malzahar. We don't play that one in scrims. Because then they know how I play it, right?
Oh yeah, it's a big secret. You and your Malzahar is very
very big secret.
Nobody knows, bro.
No one knows. No one's ever gonna know. We hide that one.
Yeah, but aren't scrims supposed to be for improving? So if you don't pick the stuff you're gonna pick on tournament day, then what's the point? I mean, obviously you should like try stuff, but you should try them only if you're gonna bring them out on tournament day, not to like hide them. Otherwise it's just bad practice.
I mean, yeah, you practice comms and stuff, right? Like I think personally, you could like as a 5-stack down here, you could play whatever you want if your comms are better.
Yeah.
Like I think if the communication is there and low elo, and again, plat to me at back then and now it's still low elo, right? So within low elo, if your comms are good, then like you could get away with a lot more, right? Because you're gonna communicate everything on the map. Obviously, does that mean you pick Kale, Cassidy, and Vayne? No, it doesn't. Right, but you can get away with a little bit more leniency.
You can get away with more. I think at some point laning mechanics is also relevant because it's really hard to play, like you said, when Cinder's going 0-10 or something, having fun. There's no communication that can stop, the enemy top laner from being 10-0, but I definitely agree with that. About you beating us, I don't know if I'm honestly not sure we lose to anybody except for Knights. Like from what we played, I really have no idea how any team can beat us because I think we were that much better than everyone except for Knights.
I think
you're being a little bit delusional.
We take a game.
To be honest, you take a game.
I think we take a game in the best of 3 back then. I think we take a game.
Fake news, actually, but it's fine.
Well, we should run it. We should run a rematch. We should run it in house.
Nah, but I'm actually so much better than what I was back then, and like, your mid laner was a bit.
That's crazy. Nova's my goat, first of all.
Right.
And No, we should definitely run it back then. I'm really excited.
I
If
mean, I don't.
Monroe, maybe Monroe can even play a support, and then you just find a new jungler. I don't know if I haven't talked to Desi in like 6 months, so I don't know if
Yeah,
he's still
I don't
around.
know where Disney's gone.
But the rest of your team is still active, so I'm
Well,
down to run it.
Cinder plays mid now.
Yeah,
Langdon Torm for 3 games.
yeah, I
Actual
bodied you.
pussy, by the way.
Actual bodied you. He's the goat. He's actually so good.
Bodied
Cinder's
me.
so good at League of
He
Legends, bro.
bodied
I don't
me.
know.
You say?
He's so good. He's so good. He's
I
actually
put
so
him
good.
6 feet under in one of those games.
Mhm. Yeah, you're the goat.
I agree. I agree with that completely. But
Yeah.
but yeah, it's a weird one when you like fantasy bots.
Yeah. I mean, that's also like, you know, we've also done that a lot, Baki and I, about like how we could have won a game we didn't, how we could have won finals. But at the end of the day, I think you just take your wins and your losses as they come, and you kind of, you can't really
Yeah.
go, oh, what if I had done this? What if I had won this? It's like whatever, you
You've
just
had more
lose and then
losses
you
than
do
wins.
better. Not me personally, but some people might, and I think it's a good attitude to have. Smile. But
Smile.
yeah,
Smile.
we'll see. We'll see. You know what? It's better to not hold on to the past, even though you guys would literally never beat us because we're just too good. But
Yeah.
you
It's
can
too
show
good.
you and your new team can show what you got when I come back, because I think
We-
we're gonna be playing. Hopefully, my team is gonna be playing some games this year if the tournaments are announced.
I
When I'm back,
mean, yeah, because obviously,
we'll get a rematch.
we can't be on the same team. It's too much content on one team, you know?
It's actually it's like you can't have just the two best players in Oceanic history on the same team. It's just not fair. So to
Yeah.
make the league more even, we have to split us up. That makes sense.
However, I would take Barky off your hands, though. I did
Dude.
hear he doesn't talk very much, so I'd take him, and
Baki
I'll talk Koa
without
into role swapping for you.
rule swapping support for me.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah.
god.
I
Dude.
would pay to see that. I think that would be hilarious.
That'd be great. That would be great. I'm not
Imagine the
sure I'm
content.
down, but Baki without me would be probably an iron level player. So,
An iron
you get
level.
to see the
Oh,
comp.
well, hang on.
I'm just kidding. He's the goat.
That could
Well,
still be
he's
an
actually
improvement on my top laner, though.
not. Your top player, your current top player, or Cinder?
Both.
Both? Clem's the goat as well, actually. Dude, all your teammates are really good. You have no excuses. Clem's is great. Cinder was great. I think you just need to be more introspective. Maybe you're the problem. What if
Maybe
you are the problem, Andy?
me. What if I'm the problem? I don't think I could ever
Exactly.
be the problem.
That's the right attitude to have.
Yeah. Of course it is.
Well,
Right. We've been going for roughly 57 minutes or so.
oh my.
You got anything else you want to talk about while we're here?
Not bad. Definitely nobody look at Monroe and Cinder's solo queue. I mentioned it earlier, but it's like really off limits, guys. Don't be rude. Don't look at their OPLGG. Number one. Number two, Baki is definitely gonna come on this podcast next time, 100%. And if he doesn't, you should all harass him in DMs, every single person who watches this. And number three, it was great to come out. Thank you for having me, Envy. It was a good time, good content. We're gonna save OCE. One podcast at a time.
One podcast at a time. One victory for me, one loss for you,
Whoa.
and we'll continue going.
Something like that.
Right. Laters.
See you.